Hi, part-time time travelers. Welcome to the very first ever Video Rental Gentleman podcast. This podcast was created by myself, Jacob, and my very close friend, Jordan. In this podcast, myself and Jordan both pretend like we run this video rental store called Video Rental Gentleman, and we're going to improv and roleplay some situations that we might get up to in a dying business like a video rental store. We're going to have lots of guests come through our doors and discuss nostalgic movies. These are movies that we're nostalgic for, whether they were popular or obscure. Today we have our very good friend Liam coming in, and we're going to talk about Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Our goal with this podcast was to create this nice, nostalgic, cozy vibe that you can sit back, grab a blanket, and listen to a couple gentlemen talk about movies. So without further ado, welcome to Video Rental Gentlemen.
Jacob, if we order the movies by alphabetical last name, then Zemeckis is too far down the line. That's not fair.
Zemeckis, the Back to the Future guy?
Yes, the Back to the Future guy. You can't put him at the end,
but
because then he's in the...
The movie starts with B, though. Back to the Future. So it'll be at the start.
Oh, I thought we were... But then it's not... I thought we were alphabetical by director, because then we'd...
Hello, gentlemen!
Hi, Liam.
Long time no see. It's my favorite little movie rental here. You know, I like to come in and snag a film or two.
Yes.
You're sounding pretty sexy tonight. Do you want to go to...
looking to find something to watch. I just really have nothing to do.
It sounds like you want to go behind the curtain to our 18 and above section with that voice.
I think I'm in the mood for something I've probably seen already. Need to watch again. Something
Classic.
Something classic, yes. Thank you. Something
Timeless.
timeless. Something
Back to the Future.
adventurous.
Yes.
Do I have any
It sounds like you have
recommendations?
something very specific in mind. Will you tell us?
No,
Yes,
I
please.
have a very open mind to a very select few type of movies. Open it up.
Okay. Adventurous. What else did he say? Adventurous.
Classic.
Classic. I would assume something with Harrison Ford. Maybe that's piquing the interest. Yes, I have the
Maybe.
Warmer.
the perfect movie. 1995's The Fugitive.
Not much of a Star Wars fan.
I didn't say Star Wars, but what else was Harrison in that's very adventurous? That there was maybe 3 to 4 to 5 movies of.
You're the fucking rental movie guys. Please give me something to work with.
How about a little movie called Temple of Doom?
Indie. Oh.
I think we got him.
Okay.
Did we get him?
Yeah.
Indie.
Yeah, we should have it. Someone brought that back a few days ago. It's actually
Lucky
one
you.
of our most rented indie tapes. Mostly because I'm the one that rents it a lot.
It's true. He wears it out.
I mean,
It's amazing. It's here.
do you guys have the first one available?
No. Maybe.
No. Paxton rented Raiders yesterday. Do you remember that?
I don't remember anything.
Oh yeah. You were sick yesterday. That makes sense. No, but did you know, my good friend Liam, that Temple of Doom canonically takes place first in the indie series?
Okay. I just feel a little strange jumping into the game, you know?
Well,
It's less the middle and more a
I
side
could
story.
I could walk away. I could go to another video rental store.
Good luck.
I don't know. I
Here.
feel like you're selling me a little short here.
Here, have Temple of Doom. And let us know what you think. It's right here, this VHS that I'm holding right now.
Okay.
Remember, you have to bring it back in 3 days or you owe us $1.99 per day.
I'll watch it tonight.
Okay, we better see you back tomorrow.
Okay, you will. Me, well, I'll watch it probably a couple times. I mean, you're giving it to me for 3 nights?
3 nights.
I'll fucking keep it for 3 nights. There's no way I'm bringing it back right away. Like, I'm paying fucking $2.99 for this. Like, I gotta watch it as much as I can.
Yeah, you're winning. You're really winning there, but
Well, you guys are the ones making the money here, so I might as well,
rolling in it, I tell you.
Okay, well, you gentlemen, have a great night. Appreciate the movie.
Okay.
Thank you for the recommendation. I'm sure I'll love it.
All
As
right.
am I. Enjoy.
Approximately 3 days later.
So, Jordan, I was just thinking, you remember our friend Liam who's due to come back anytime now?
Yes, his minute clock is running low. I imagine he'll be through those doors any second.
Oh, he'll be here any second. I just remember our conversation about Zemeckis and how his films were really hard to find.
Yes, because they're Zeds and they're at the back, because that's how we organize this store, right?
Yes, but when I went to pick up Temple of Doom for Liam the other day, why was Spielberg beside Zemeckis? You do know it's an S in Spielberg, right? It's not Zielberg.
Yes. There's just nothing between S and Z. There's no directors. Famously, there's no directors between S and Z.
I know we're a pretty niche, video store, but I would
Never
think
happened.
that. Oh, okay.
As far as I know.
Okay.
Hello, gentlemen. It's
Hello,
been
Liam.
3 days.
It
pretty
has,
much
you had-
on the dot. I've missed
Pretty
you
much.
guys.
You had 3
Yeah.
minutes and 30 seconds left.
Well, I just wanted to make sure I got the most bang for my buck, you know?
Yep, you avoided the late fee too. Isn't that great?
I'll never pay that damn late fee. You know I won't. I'm too good of a customer. Even if I'm a minute late, I'm sure he wouldn't stick it to me or else I wouldn't be coming back.
You might be surprised.
That hasn't happened yet. And it will never happen.
Okay.
Okay.
Was our recommendation satisfactory?
Well, I think we need to discuss a few things before I give it my full rating.
Oh, I guess we have time, don't we, Jordan?
We have time. I guess. I suppose.
All right. Well, Temple of Doom. Thoughts?
I just would like to start with the beginning scene.
You mean the craziest scene in cinematic history?
Well, I don't really know how to feel about it. Because I like how it's set up. I like how, they're going for the transaction. And
Yeah, it's very James Bond.
it's a little hairy. It's very James Bond.
Do you like the part where the tap dancers go into the void?
No. No. Completely unnecessary.
Because Willie is out on stage and then goes into the presumably backstage and is suddenly in a black void with a bunch of tap dancers. Also,
Yes.
Did you notice all of the dancers with her on the actual stage, not in the void? In the void, I think they all look very white, but also that seems intentional. But then on the stage itself, I think they are meant to look Asian, but I'm pretty sure they're all very Caucasian, and I find that interesting.
I don't know if I noticed that. But the whole scene with them being behind the curtains in the void, because it's like who's watching this? It seemed uncomfortable.
It's a confusing moment when you
It
notice
was confusing, and
Well,
it seemed unnecessary. I feel like there's a few unnecessary parts in the movie that happened that we'll obviously talk about yet. But
I think, I watched, because a little confession, I've only ever seen Raiders up until this year. I know, crazy. Like, hold your gasps. But I recently decided I wanted to rewatch them all. And I put on Raiders, and it had that famous opening scene of him getting the idol and, the big ball chasing him. And it was great. And then I'm really excited to turn on Temple of Doom because I've heard so many different things about it. Some people saying it's the worst one. Some people saying it's an underrated gem. People saying it's gory. I was really excited. And the movie just starts with this James Bond type. Well, the first thing you see is Willie Scott, don't you? After the big gong with the Paramount logo on it.
Yeah, she's pretty
front
much
and
opens it
center.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, and just starts singing, and it just says Indiana Jones on it. And I'm like, what's going on here? But it's different.
Definitely. It's a much different vibe than Raiders as well, and Last Crusade.
I want to roll into the action sequence that follows after the transaction of the what is it? The diamond and the what does Indy have?
I think it's the remains of an emperor, like the ashes.
Yes,
I believe.
that's right.
And a very ornate little vase.
I thought that the action sequence to follow was a little awkward.
Awkward.
How so?
I remember watching it as a kid and thinking, this is great. But like it just seemed kind of goofy.
Oh, it's
they've
goofy.
got the guns, and then they're like, oh, you've got like 3 people with guns pointed, but you got one guy who's like, oh, I'll shoot the gun this time, and then the big gong fucking rolls, and he's like, he just happens to be behind the gong, and then there's like 3 other people that have guns aimed at him, but no, they don't bother to shoot because you don't want Indy to die. Obviously, I mean, you don't want Indy to die, but it just
This is like the 30s though. No one even knows what a gun is. Sort of, maybe. I'm guessing.
World War One
You
would
got
like
the
to
Tommy
speak
guns.
with you, but I know what you mean.
But I mean, you could say that about any action sequence, really. They seem a little far-fetched.
I respect you from rewatching that, but for me watching it for the first time, I just thought it was insano mode of what they were doing, and it was goofy, but it was camp, and I enjoyed the whole thing. Right up to like it's like, okay, so him and Willie finally like get out of there, and they fall into the car, and this 12-year-old boy is driving that knows
What follows, I think, is great.
Short Round, greatest character in the whole Indy franchise.
Yes.
On, amazing.
Strong opinion.
I
good.
love Short Round. I would like to hear Jordan's opinion of Short Round, though.
Short Round's great. I don't know if he's. I don't know if Indy's a very responsible person.
He's not.
He kidnapped
But I
this
guess
boy.
that's within the character. Yeah, it's kind of like a willful kidnapping in a way. I don't think this kid should be flying on planes and using
But
boats as parachutes.
that's why I think this kid is like the hero of the movie, because he does
a
these
lot.
insane things as a child. Like, he's got no parents. He has freaking Indy who takes him
Not
under
that
his
of the year.
wing for a couple
Well,
of months.
this is
Like,
crazy because every time you see Harrison Ford in this kind of role where he has to watch after a kid, or just any movie in general in the last 50 years, it's always like, oh, damn, kid, like, and then by the end of the movie, they grow to love it. But just right away, like, Indy and Short Round have this deal where they just, like, are best friends, and there's no explanation except for, oh, I saw him pickpocketing me on the street, and I took him in.
I don't think
And
Indy's had a closer friend than Short Round in any of the movies. Like,
And they treat each other like they're the same age, which is so funny.
Yeah, he's a great character.
And I don't know, just his immense respect. My favorite line in the film is when Willie is calling him Indy, and Short Round's like, "Oh, you call him Mr. Jones, or you call him Dr. Jones." Yeah,
Dr. Jones.
Yeah, he's just this little sidekick. But like to Liam's point, he does a lot in that movie, and I think there's a couple moments where he actually like saves the entire thing. There's at least one.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's a little bit silly. It kind of runs into that. It's a little bit silly at times where his little karate chop, this little 40-pound boy karate chops the villain or
with
whatever.
the silliness, I can put that aside for a child, because damn, good for him. But like, for Indy, he's been through this shit, and for him to just get lucky over and over again, it's like, come on, you could have been smarter. Come on, you could have been more prepared.
Is he lucky or is it magic, Liam?
Yeah,
There's a lot of
The
magic.
magic of
exists.
adventure.
No, but there's a lot of magical elements in these movies, and I
There
do
is.
like that
Yeah.
every god that we come across in these movies seems to be real. So we get
no explanation. Just
we get the Ark of the Covenant, we get the Holy Grail,
Yep.
and then we get the evil blood lord of India in this one. And they mention Vishnu, I think, is the other Indian, like the good god, but he doesn't seem to be very helpful. I don't know. But I do like the bold stance that all magic is real and all the gods are real.
yeah. Even with Crystal Skull going to aliens, and the new indie movie involving time travel, like it's just okay.
Yeah, it's everything's on the table, and it is a little goofy and a little campy, but I do
And the
enjoy.
thing is, like, Indy still says he doesn't believe in all this shit, even though he experiences.
That man is the hardest skeptic on the planet. He saw Nazis' faces melt. He saw a guy's heart pulled out of his chest. He's like, it's all superstition.
What's your opinion on that, Mr. Liam?
It's good to be a skeptic about things at first.
He saw Nazis.
I'm
with
glad
faces
he has
melt
that at
off.
first.
I
About
guess he
anything,
hasn't seen
right?
that at
Like,
this point.
Oh, yeah, he didn't see that.
Because this is a prequel, so he hasn't seen Nazi
Well,
faces melt.
Also,
But he has seen magic
True.
stones glow.
He had to look away, right? He couldn't see the Nazis' faces actually.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. I guess he didn't see the specific magic, but he knew something messed up happened
at,
when
at
they all
the end,
disappeared.
at the end of it all, like, he appreciates, like, you know, he comes up at the end like, oh, I hope you appreciate the power of the stones. And he's like, oh yes, I have seen its power. I understand it now. Like he has to go through it in order to understand it. I mean, like, someone comes up to me, who's like, yeah, this red stone is gonna, like, give us prosperity and fortune. I'm like, fucking bullshit. Whatever. Yeah, cool. Good for you guys. But then, like, you go through it and you see these guys bowing down to this shit, and they're glowing together. And then once you go through it, then yeah, of course, who's gonna believe it? The magic is there. You can see it. But to start off, like, no.
What do you think about the bugginess, the grossness of this movie? I find it as a very gross movie.
I love it.
A
love-
little behind the scenes tidbit actually that I did learn about this movie. The whole scene where Short Round and Willie are eating the disgusting food. Well,
That scene is hilarious.
it's hilarious, and many people have called it like wrong in recent years because it's a wrongful depiction of yes, there's a lot of wrongful depictions in this movie. However, they are a cult that doesn't exist IRL.
Yeah, they're a cult in the middle of the jungle. They probably
Yeah.
eat some weird stuff.
But the whole reason that scene was invented is because they wrote in the script Indy's conversation that like plot dumped the like everything that makes sense, and they needed it to be funny somehow. So it's
Absolutely,
like, yeah,
that makes a very on its own. That scene is just it's complete expository. It's just setting up. Here's what's going on, and then you add this complete insanity in with the snake and the eels coming out of it, and the monkey heads. It's just it
and
creates
okay,
a
short
it
round
takes a-
expressions
they
too.
might have lost
Yeah.
me. They might have lost me a little bit at the monkey brains for dessert, because that was
Never had
maybe a
monkey
little
brains?
far. Like, bro, they are not chilling.
Okay,
these
That's
But-
probably the only thing on that table I
Jello.
would eat.
I was watching it though, But did you see all their faces? They were waiting for them to see the monkey brains. They were shitting them. They
were excited for the monkey brains. Don't
yeah,
get
they were
me
excited
wrong,
to
but-
see Willie and Short Round's reaction to it.
Oh yeah.
They're just like, how far can we go?
So before back it up a little bit before that scene.
Yes.
So they meet with the village. They move on. They're starting to trek to the city to find the stone or see what happened with the stone. And they stop for a night. And then they have a scene where you have Indiana Jones and you have Short Round playing poker, which is great. Like
great
I
banter.
loved their dynamic. They're playing poker, you know.
You
Short
cheat.
Round's
I only
cheating.
cheat a little bit.
Indy's cheating, and they're calling each other out. It's hilarious. But in the meantime, you have fucking Willie in the background. Like, it's so fucking bad. She screams.
She's the worst part of,
Everything.
and maybe the best part of the movie, but the worst character.
Yes.
I
like-
find she toes the line a fair bit. I don't dislike her character as much as I think I should, but there is, I think, that moment in particular where she's just screaming her face off. That's the moment where it goes over the line for me, and she becomes just annoying. I think there's times when
Yes.
she's used very effectively, and like even though she's ditzy, it's like it kind of works. Like there's enough charm there, but the
Yet,
screaming is a bit
For
much.
me, she ruined that scene. I thought it could have been a funny, charming scene, but she
Yet-
ruined it with the screaming.
Yet again, isn't she the most sane person in this whole movie?
Yes.
Like no
Probably true.
reaction
Yes.
from Indiana and Short Round and any other people, but she is getting exposed to these wildlife animals, which just kept getting more ridiculous. All the food, child slavery. Like I think,
Yeah.
and like
She
Indy was getting
definitely had
mad
an
at her.
eye-opening experience.
Indy was
There
getting
were-
mad at her for almost killing him, but like there was all those bugs. I don't know.
There was two parts in the movie that actually made me jump because it freaked me out. Not freaked me, it was more like a jump scare type. So the one was actually during that scene where they're playing poker, and then Willie just like, I don't know, she looks down, and then suddenly there's this massive like fruit bat in her hand. Just whoa. I don't know.
Yeah, somehow she's holding it too.
It scares the shit out of me. It came out of nowhere. I'm like, oh. So like, I didn't scream like she did, but like I can see where she's coming from. And then the other part where it got me was when they were climbing through the temple and they were observing the ritual, and then afterwards, Indy's like, "All right, they're gone. I'm gonna get those because it's too easy right now."
I'm gonna get the stone.
Which obviously it's too easy. You know shit's about to go down. You're already like, what's happening? He's down there sneaking away, and then it pans back to Short Round and Willie, and they're just watching him, and then the one thuggy just like pops up out of nowhere. I don't know why. That part scared the shit out of me. It's just like,
And he did it. I like
take 'em
that.
in.
He did it entirely for the spook factor because he didn't actually do anything. They just backed up into the arms of the other guards who were waiting there. So he did that entirely for the theatrical.
That part made me jump though. Like,
He's just like, ah, here I am.
Did he even make a noise? Like, I thought he just went.
That might be in my head, but I thought he made a ah. Maybe he doesn't. I like to. I'm choose to believe he does.
Yes.
In my head, that's how it goes.
And then before that, when they're sneaking through, trying to watch the ritual, that scene was very intense. Where Short Round and Indy are stuck in the booby trap, I guess.
Booby trap. Yeah.
Where they have the spikes coming down. Where
And
it's
up.
like that
And skulls.
classic scene where it's just like it's taking way too long and they'd be dead by
Yeah.
now.
And they're trying to get Willie to save them.
But
And
it's
she's
still
just-
so intense. Because Willie's such a freaking idiot. And she has to somehow make it through the whole temple that they've already come through. And and they're like dying. And you're like, oh, move.
I hate to backtrack even more, but the scene before that was insane too for the time of just them having this weird sexual standoff.
Yes. I actually really enjoyed that scene. I don't remember that scene watching it as a kid because obviously it didn't mean much to me then.
No.
But, like,
I remember being confused as a kid as to why Indy, like, he comes in and he's just all. I thought he actually couldn't see her for a bit because he just ignores her, and she's like, "I'm right here," and he's just ignoring her. I didn't understand. So that scene always sticks out to me. I'm like, it makes sense now, I think. But
yeah, I did like the sexual tension though.
Yeah.
speaking of theatricality, do you think, just to backtrack a little bit more before we plunge forward into the depths of the mind, but the Indian, the old Indian, the shaman kind of guy who leads them to
Yeah.
the village, and he's just kind of, the scenes imply that he's always in front of them, but he lets them pass, and then he just kind of shows up in front of them again. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that is magic, or my personal belief that is, after they're out of sight, he does a quick jog around the perimeter and then catches up with them again, and he's just completely doing it for the dramatic effect?
Yeah, I didn't buy the whole magic thing. His fucking stone's gone. He got nothing.
Exactly.
He's trying
Stone's
to
gone. I think
he's
that,
trying to
that guy's
play it
jogging.
off.
He's a magician. He's like running around, and I can see him running through the bush, like.
That's right. He doesn't actually possess magic at that point, but he's
Yeah, he's
acting
just doing
as a
it for
magician.
Yeah, I think he gets to the top of the hill. He takes a couple of deep breaths, and then he just stands and waits, all calm.
Well, you know, he has to convince these guys that he's legit, and please go after my stones.
He's got to sell Indy on the journey, right? He's got to make it interesting. I get it.
I think we should start talking about the scene where we see the sacrifice, which is kind of the first, like, oh, this movie isn't just for families.
Yes. It was intense.
Yes.
I would say, like, you've got the brainwashed guy coming out, like, oh, Shamila Ba.
Was he brainwashed, or was he just a guy
Well-
they pulled out of the local village and said, "Yeah, you'll do.
You'll do.
You got a pulse? We can take that out."
He was on the right opioid.
That seems incredible. What a terrible way to go. Truly
Yeah,
terrifying.
It is
the whole way
terrifying.
through.
And whoever that extra is that they hired to do it, his scream is like genuine. It felt like.
Yeah, they actually lit him on fire. Fun fact.
You get
Yeah.
caged up, you're strapped in, and they just lower you into this fiery
Yeah.
death pit.
And the cage comes up and it's just glowing red and there's nothing left.
But, okay,
Spooky.
I actually really enjoyed watching, like, you can see where the cut is, where they cut to the fake chest. But he goes in there, and he grabs this freaking heart. Like,
Yeah.
damn! Like, with ease, too. Like, there's no ribs there. Like, his body was gelatin in that moment.
Yeah, he's
He
like
had all the
he's like
power.
a clay model. He just runs into him, and it's disturbing. As even though it's clearly fake, like, it's so disturbing.
But, like, there's
Yeah.
hair on the chest and everything, too. Like,
Yeah, it's a good effect. It's very good.
Yeah,
yeah, I
whole scene's
really did
incredible.
think that was neat.
and the whole implications of like seeing your own heart pouring out of your body and you're still alive just for now.
And, like,
It's-
as he's
very-
plummeting to the lava pit or whatever, the heart is beating, and then it starts smoking. Like, that's freaking cool.
that is cool. They had a lot of good ideas while filming this movie of how to convey like what's going on in a PG-13 setting.
Yeah.
Is this movie PG-13? I guess it must be.
Another element of this film is when they walk and they find the child slaves from the village.
I figured that's where we're going next.
Yeah. You know, they went there. It was bold. I applaud. I'm also disturbed.
Spielberg really just hired 100 skinny Indian children to play them as slaves in his movie.
It's very interesting. I saw a mini documentary that was talking about how Spielberg and George Lucas were both going through nasty divorces at this time. And that's why some of the disturbing elements of the movie are just like dialed to 100%. And they both kind of regret it. Because they were just so angry in this period of time of filming
Like-
Temple.
there's maybe not 100 kids, but there's quite a few children. Like, it's very believable that they have captured. Well, I wouldn't say all those kids belong to that one village. There was like 5 houses in that village that they were at earlier. So I don't know where all these children came from.
Yeah, I think the
I would assume
implication might have been that
surrounding.
there was a couple different villages in the area that they took children
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
But in all of these movies, like, there's definitely a commitment to the baddies being very bad, and there's no question of how evil they are, right?
Yes.
The
There's
thuggies.
always the big point in the movie where, well, you know, Raiders did it with the Nazis, showed how bad they were, and then at the end they showed them getting their comeuppance in a big way.
There wasn't too many snake scenes. That's
Well-
one of the biggest things for indie is, like, you know, you got the classic. There was a couple of snake scenes, right? But, like, I thought I would have seen a little more. I can only think of maybe 2 scenes where there was the snakes involved. I mean, like, even at the dinner table when there was like eel snake things going on, and he's just chatting. He doesn't even freaking care. He's just like, whatever. Like,
That's a good point. I think that the snake thing was maybe considered a little overplayed. Like, well, maybe not overplayed, but they definitely played it heavy in the first movie, so I think
They
they probably
really
toned
did.
it back.
there definitely was a scene where there was a snake. Was it
Willie
when they were
thinks
running
it's
around?
the elephant trunk. And
Yeah.
grabs it and fires it.
When
And
they're, like,
Indy's
doing their
freaking out.
poker
It's the
scene.
only animal he freaks out
Yeah, he's all big and tough until there's a sneaky snake.
Just like my dad.
in. When Indy got hypnotized, what do you guys think about that? When he almost got sacrificed and
I
he
did-
slapped
I-
the shit out of Shorty.
I didn't buy it at first. I actually couldn't remember from watching it as a kid. I'm like, is he just kind of going with it? There's no way he'd be, like, completely brainwashed at this point. Like, this shit's not actually real. Like, you'd be able to see through it. But then, like, you know, he freaking backhands Short Round, and then, like, Willie's tied up, and he's just like, yeah. And he's, like, getting with it. And I'm like, whoa, I think this shit's kind of real right now. Like, he's actually affected by it.
Yeah, he
I like the
quick.
commitment to making him kind of powerless in there, and Short Round actually has to save the day.
Yeah, which is why
Like, that's one
I
of those
said
moments where Short Round actually comes through and saves the entire movie.
Short Round is the hero of the movie.
He is, it's true.
He breaks out of the slavery prison somehow and makes his way into Indy and saves him, basically.
Yeah.
What is he does? He gets the torch, and he
burns
torches
him, and that
his
seems
belly.
to...
And that's
seems
what
like
actually knocks him
then
dead.
Indy puts on the facade.
Then he puts on the show. Yeah, that's right. He puts
Yeah.
on the facade.
But
I wonder how many of those evil henchmen drank the blood and got hypnotized. Because
Thuggies.
Indy's... Tuggies.
They're thuggies.
There's a moment where the main villain says, Tuggy.
Yeah, they're thuggies. I remember from the Lego game, because it'd be like Thuggy 1, Thuggy 2, Thuggy 3, Thuggy 4. They were all thuggies. That's what they took.
That's the name of the cult, yeah.
Thuggy. Sorry, I just had to.
I'm curious how many of the Tuggies have drank the blood, or how many of them are truly with the program.
Right.
Because Indy's pretty weird on it. He's kind of like slow and like kind of muted a little bit.
Right.
But most of them don't seem that way. But then the kid definitely is. Because he gets
Yeah.
burned later.
yeah,
Right.
Short Round saves the day again, which that kid just had a
Oh,
working
yeah.
voodoo doll, by the way, which I thought was kind
Oh,
of
there's
I-
another piece of magic, yeah.
Hated that kid. Oh,
He's annoying.
Man. Oh,
Definitely.
He really got under my skin. He's just like, I'm like, ooh,
Which, and then it looks like, I know it's a voodoo doll, but it made me laugh out loud of how cheesy, like, when it's like, and then Indy's like,
oh.
But it's cheesy and I love it.
Yeah, I know, because that was even after he was, like, broken from his spell. Like, that doll still affected him, but they never really explained the whole voodoo part of it.
I think that was just a, voodoo doll, evil Indian people, subconscious racism. But
It's just another part of the story you're supposed to buy.
If you start explaining it too hard, you're just going to destroy it. So best to
Yeah.
just leave it as
Sure.
it is.
Just leave it
fair.
as funny doll. Look like Indy affect him.
There's a couple good indie screams when the doll gets stabbed. Like, whoa!
Yeah. He's in pain. He's
Yeah.
definitely
I
in pain.
believe it.
I mean, I don't know how a little spine in your back would hurt more than that massive thuggy just socking him in the face. Like they're going at it. That's a pretty intense fight scene, and like that guy is like twice the size of Indy, and like he puts up a pretty good fight. Like I was pretty impressed with how strong Indy was. You know, he's a strong man.
You bring up a good point, Jordan. Like Indy had some great screams in it, which, you know, a lot of people have spoke that this is like one of the lower end indie movies, and George Lucas and Steven Spielberg said that they regret this movie because of the time in their lives and how they written it. But Harrison Ford is having the time of his life in this movie and in all the indie movies, no matter what quality. He keep
loves his
making
character.
Yes, and he will, like, I've never seen him so animated in any of his movies. Like, he's a great actor, but it's usually the sauce.
His heart has to be in it, absolutely.
Yeah,
and his heart is in these ones. He loves it.
Well, his
I
heart
agree.
is
He
out
still
of
loves
him,
it.
but you know,
Compare that to like Star Wars. Yeah.
Yeah, where he plays
he
pretty
hates
much the
Star
same
Wars.
character.
yeah, Han is space indie, but just without the charm.
Just a little more rundown.
Yeah, I guess Han is a little more cavalier, where Indy's a little more serious. I guess that's what Harrison likes about him. I don't know.
But still, like, this was a goofy adventure for Indy, and Harrison
was.
Ford was leaning right into the goof. And then it gets, like, I think I've mentioned it before, this movie feels more like a roller coaster than it does a movie. And then it turns into a roller coaster.
There's actually a roller coaster scene that goes on way too long because they spent way too much money on actually making it. Like that was a real like roller coaster scene. That was a real minecart going down a track.
Yeah.
Well, you could definitely tell the
thought it was
CGI
awesome.
moments.
There were
stick out pretty bad.
There were.
For the most
But-
part, that's a fairly solid scene. But there's a couple of there's a cart that runs off the track
yes.
into the abyss.
and it probably explodes or something.
It's pretty bad.
It's a wooden minecart and then it crashes into something. There's an explosion. It's like the thing was made of wooden metal.
But, you know, the title of the movie is Temple of Doom, and when you think of that title, it kind of gives you, like, this kind of, you know, excited feeling about, like, almost like an amusement park would. And even though that they were in this temple and it was very doomy throughout the movie, like, this is the first time it's just like, yeah, this is Temple of Doom.
But when I was watching that scene with the minecarts, all I was thinking was they definitely made a ride like this for Universal or Disney or whatever the hell owned Paramount at that point. Because it looked like an advertisement for a roller coaster.
Like in the
That's
cat
all
in the
I could
hat.
think. I thought it was neat. I thought, like, you know, the chase scene with the carts was neat, but I just saw it as a pitch for a roller coaster.
I do like the part where they outrun the water by going down a different.
They
Water
make
only flows
one
straight.
turn.
Famously.
They missed the water couldn't catch them. Water couldn't turn right.
I like the scene where they get out of the mine and the water rushes out behind them, and the sides, the walls of that they're clinging to start to give against the water pressure, and they're just like climbing and clinging. I thought that was really good.
I did think that was well done. Yeah.
It was well done,
It was
and then
eroding the
God,
side of the cliff.
I thought it was well done, and then the shot cuts to these like weird alligators in the water, just like like the most stereotypical.
The alligators were out of place because they're like 200 feet above these alligators, or probably more, because like the way they pan down, it's way down there. You can't see shit at that height, but then they zoom in on these alligators. Oh, not only will the fall kill you, you got these alligators.
It looks like they might have been something that were added after the fact, because I don't think you ever see the alligators and the bridge at the same time.
No,
So I think
it
it
was
was a
shot
moment
in two
of-
different places. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a moment of like, what can we give this to make it a little more intense? I know.
They didn't need it. They
Alligators.
didn't.
Well,
So
that scene was
dangling
invented.
at that height is scary enough. I did like how, you know, Indy's in the middle, and then everyone's closing in on him onto the bridge. And
Great scene.
he
Great
wraps
scene.
his foot around one of the ropes, and it's like, oh, he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it.
Yeah, and then he warns Short Round in Chinese, and so Short Round starts wheeling or like tying himself, and tells Willie to do the same thing. Like, we're going for a ride.
And she's like, oh no, oh, which I mean,
She's
fair.
at that point done with this shit.
You're right. You mentioned it earlier, Beeman, where like she's the most realistic person, because like I would be screaming and scared to death the whole time. Like that is a freaking journey of
This all
seeing
happens in
terrifying
one day.
events.
Yeah, credit where credit's due. I'm not sure I would stick my hand in the bug cave to pull the lever. Sorry,
Oh, no.
they're dead.
Yeah, and then they retrieve how many gems? They don't get all the gems,
Just the one. Just the
They
one
only
that
make away
matters
with
for
one.
that village.
but that's all the village needs.
That's
Yeah,
right.
so I think that's part of the idea that maybe some of the other ones were at other villages, but I guess they don't get theirs
Right.
back. Maybe not.
No, so that was actually explained in the story, wasn't it? I think those
so,
other
but
two gems were actually left in that temple down there.
Potentially.
Oh, no, wait, sorry. There was 5 gems total. I don't know what
Yeah, they were
what
mining
happened
for the
with
other two.
but that's right. That's why they had the other slaves, because they were mining for the other 2 gems.
But yeah, I think
They
you're
never
right, though. I think that was explained at some point, and I wasn't listening.
Yeah, I don't know if they actually explained how
Okay.
they already had the 2 gems, but
The guy with the
they-
big hat does a spiel about the stones, and I blanked.
It's like, I don't really need to know this. This is not very believable already. Those other 2 stones, they fell into that river, right? Like,
Yeah,
Indy
Yes, they
has
fell in the river.
alligators. Yeah.
but I'm just saying, those other stones that fell in the water, they're not gone. Like, I feel like he went back later and grabbed those. You just gotta go in with a
Ooh.
helicopter and
Maybe he
just,
did.
like, that's what I think.
And then brought him to the museum.
For his
'Cause-
fortune and glory.
Because even like the main
Fortune and glory.
evil villain, what did they call him?
All around.
Yes, because Indy had it. He's like, I'll just drop this into the river, and then the guy's like, great,
Oh, get 'em.
then we'll get him.
Probably send
That's
some
why-
of those kids in to keep the alligators busy for a minute, then we'll go look for them.
There's only like 8 alligators, like.
Yeah.
But no, I do think Indy went back for those stones because he knew only he knew where they went, and
That's true.
probably had the resources to grab them. Like, he's like, oh yeah, he's the better man because he's like, I'll give this stone back to the village. It's the only stone that I needed to save. But come on, he went back. He got those other stones.
Yeah.
That's
He's
true.
gotta-
He is famous
gotta
at the
get paid
start of this
somehow.
movie, though. He is recognized at the start of the movie, because I was going to say maybe that's why he's such an acclaimed adventurer. Maybe that's the first one he goes back and gets the stones. But when they show up at the temple, the one guy does recognize him,
Mm-hmm.
or recognizes his name at least.
Yes, that's right.
So he's already famous at this point,
Yes.
It is
even among bizarre culties in the middle of the Indian jungle.
it is nuts that they go through this really traumatic event with this cult and human sacrifices, mine carts, alligators, big bridge, getting lost in India, and canonically he goes back and teaches at a university like 2 months later. Like nothing has happened. Ditches Short Round somehow. It's
That's
just
what he
been-
does.
It's just what he does, which I
Short
admire.
round's
him
just
for.
a tool.
Yeah, lack of short round from this point forward does feel kind of odd.
Short round deserves better.
Liam, to answer the question, what we talked about Temple of Doom. Now
My full rating.
your full rating. Where would you place this? Is it a good movie? Is it a great movie? Is it a bad movie?
It's a good movie. It's a movie that I will watch again. It's a movie I don't need to see anytime soon again, though, because I got it. I got it right now. But, it's one that needs to be revisited.
If we could talk about legacy,
Yes.
I know a lot of people don't like to. Well, sorry, a lot of people would say that this is the worst one, say, out of the original 3. I don't know if that's fair.
I don't think because it's completely different than. Well, Raiders came out, and then they wanted to make something completely different, and then there was some weird reactions to it. So, the Crusade is a remake pretty well of Raiders.
Yeah, I like how different this one is. I like the variety that it adds, and it kind of gives Indy. I think it's really strong within his character of being like an adventurer. And I think if you take this one out, you're just left with a guy who really doesn't like Nazis, which isn't that compelling.
Yeah, well,
I think it would be weird to
Nazis.
just have 2 times Indy versus Nazis, and he's like, oh, he's this great adventurer. It's like, well, show us some of these great adventures. I think that's what this one is meant to be. I like the weirdness.
Yeah, well, Indy's always been about, like, the 1930s serial adventurers, and this really felt like an adventure. It's the most popcorn movie it is out of the trilogy or the quad that you could just, like, put on whenever and
Definitely.
have fun.
And I like that it doesn't, it's different in the way that, like, there's no kind of political ties hanging to it, like when you have, like, something as big as the Nazis in the other 2, or even going into the 4th one, you just replace Nazis with the Russians, and it's essentially the same thing. But this one, it's like, it's just some random blood cult in the middle of an Indian jungle.
You start out with Shanghai gangsters and then somehow end up in the middle of India.
Yeah.
Chasing some stones.
And
I think this might be the most Indiana Jones adventure of them.
Yes.
In my mind, the way they revere him and the way they talk about him in other movies.
As a film, like, if we'd get film broy with it, like, Raiders takes that cake, because it feels like a moment in cinema, and the story's told very effectively. But I think I'd watch Temple of Doom more times just for the fun factor and the adventure.
Yeah.
All right, well, you want to rent it again, Liam?
No. Done. I watched it 6 times.
6 times.
2 times a day.
Oh. What do you want to rent next?
That's for next time.
I guess we are closed.
I have no more money.
You don't have $2.99?
Get out.
Thank you everyone for stopping by the Video Rental Gentleman store, aka listening or watching the Video Rental Gentleman podcast. It was our very first one, and myself, Jordan, and our guest Liam had so much fun talking about Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. It would help us a lot if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel, Woodward TV, where the video version of this podcast is, where you see my animation of our lovely video rental store. But it would help if you drop us a like and comment what movie, whether it's a blockbuster or it's obscure, that you're nostalgic about that we should talk about. If you're listening to us on the go, we hope you had a good time. Drop us a review. And yeah, we just hope the last 50 minutes of your life was very cozy. And unfortunately, we have to close up shop now, but we will see you another day when we open up Video Rental Gentleman. Have a good night, everybody.